Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I begin, inshallah, as my brother did, with the praise of Allah by saying, إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. And that translates, and he said most of it, and I'll just briefly translate that. But we like to begin with the praise of Allah by saying that verily we praise Allah, that all praise belongs to Him, and we praise Him, and we seek His help, and we seek His forgiveness, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evils of ourselves and from the consequences of our evil actions. And whomsoever Allah guides, no one can misguide. And whomsoever Allah misguides, no one can guide. And I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah alone without partners, our sister described. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His slave and messenger. And please ignore that. Now that title is meaningless anyway. I did not ask for that to be said, and I will edit that from the video. The director of religious affairs for the MSA. Not that that is something I should try to elicit or anything as that, but I don't like titles described to me if we can avoid that. And before I begin, I just want to tell my sister here, who is new to Islam, Christian, that I can proudly speak for everybody here that we are very proud of you. It is difficult under any circumstance to be able to stand before people and talk. And any of us have had to give speeches and speech classes, or as this wonderful speaker has had much experience, but all of us had that first speech, and especially a first speech when you're coming to Islam. Right at the beginning, less than a month. To get up here is very difficult. It takes a brave soul. And to talk about something that is emotional to the heart, especially, I'm not trying to say anything bad, but for a female, man, it's difficult. It's emotional, and I thought you did a great job. And I think you look back, years later, and you'll get a slap and say, man, they have that on recording. It'll be on YouTube, maybe, so you laugh and say, man, look, this is how I was, and we all go through a path, and we all said funny things and whatnot, but you did a great job. And I say I can probably speak for everybody saying we're very proud of you, did a good job. Me personally, it is an honor to be standing here before you this evening, to be able to have the opportunity to discuss this question of why we chose Islam, or why I personally became a Muslim. And this is something that I look forward to the opportunity to be able to answer this question. By the help of Allah, I will try to briefly just give a very small summary of my background, religious upbringing. And then I will, I apologize, I forget which speaker mentioned, but they had a good point of talking about Danette, my sister Danette, talking about the first encounter with Islam, and then the other things that led us along our path. So to begin with that, with regards to my background, I was raised as a Catholic. My family is a Catholic. I was raised in a Catholic background, and I don't think it's fair to say that we were your typical Catholics. I mean, we went to church every weekend. We weren't the once-a-year Catholics. We weren't the buffet Catholics, if you will. But we went to church every weekend. But beyond that, my parents, I always say that they did a great job by raising us. We led a sheltered life, which I think is good to some extent for children. They put us in private Catholic schools. I mean, every Catholics have Lent, which is about a month that they try to do they sacrifice some things in their life. And they do this for a whole month, they try to, before Easter. And I remember every month during the school year, during Lent, and I looked forward to it, but we would go to church at 6:30 in the morning. Because the Catholic school, there was a school, and then the church, and the priest, his lodge in his house, all on the same community, all on the same land, if you will. And we would go to church at 6:30 in the morning. I was an altar boy. I'd be ringing the bells. This is how we were raised up. And of course, try to drink a little bit of the wine and sip it when the priest isn't looking. You're kids. Not because you want to do it bad. You excuse. But nevertheless, 6:30 in the morning, go to church. Then afterwards, he'd have us over at his place, just the altar boys. There's nothing bad happened. He was a good priest. But he would have us over there. And he made us breakfast, and he was an Italian priest. The people in the community to this day, they loved him. And he was a strong Italian, had a thick accent, and he made us all kinds of weird things. And it just came to mind when it was funny. He made us fried grits. I'm from New Orleans, we like grits, but I never heard of fried grits. But anyway, he would cook for us, we'd eat breakfast, and he would go to school. So I really don't think, I would think that I had more of an atypical religious or Catholic upbringing in that sense. I mean, I can say that I've never even seen an illegal substance, an illegal drug. And I understand that that's rare for these days, especially many people, even in private schools. It's very common. So that's not going to tell you a lot about my background, but with the time limitation is, that's my upbringing. I think I was brought up in a good Catholic family, altar boys, confirmed, and so on and so forth. So fast forward, and we go to college. Actually before I get that, when I first went to college, I want to tell you as far as my knowledge of Islam, I literally knew nothing of Islam. Except to literally, I knew Saddam Hussein. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I knew nothing. And I didn't care. You know, most Americans, we don't care outside our borders. I knew nothing. I couldn't tell you a lot, nothing I didn't know. I knew Saddam just because I was raised during the first Bush War. And regretfully, we come home from school. I know it was a big thing at the time that they put these video cameras on the bottom of the planes. And it was very new at the time. And we were excited. We come home from school, we grab our dinner, and we go sit in front of the TV to watch the bombs drop. You probably did it too. To watch the bombs drop. It's sad, but this is what we did. To watch it drop and explode. It was really cool, like a Hollywood movie. And regretfully, as children, I never associated that hundreds and thousands of people were down there dying. But that was my only knowledge of Islam, Saddam Hussein. And I really knew anything. So then, we go forward, and I go to college, and I met many Muslims. And I had some friends that were Muslims. But none of them talked to me about Islam, for whatever reason. I'm not going to give that assumptions, for whatever reason they did not. My first encounter with a person actually trying to talk to me about Islam, and those of you who have heard my talk about da'wah, I don't give you my story, but I always mention it, was a guy in my calculus class. So my first encounter, guy in my calculus class, we were the two probably geeks in the class. You know, we had hundreds on all tests. So when we were talking about we would have that, respect and communication and whatnot, we didn't really know each other. He could barely speak English. It was my first encounter completely with Islam. And we just had this connection, we exchanged hi, hellos, and what have you. One evening, we lived in the same dorm. It was one Friday night. He was coming back around 11 or so, and I was trying to be social, because why go from Louisiana, New Orleans, go to college in Daytona Beach if you're not trying to have a good time? So I'm in Daytona, I'm in Daytona trying to have fun as a college student. He comes back at 11 p.m. I was like, oh, how you doing? Because we have this tiny, weird relationship based on the class, and he was like, oh, great. So where are you coming from? Oh, I'm coming from the masjid. I was like, yeah, the masjid. I thought it was like some dance club, something. He was like, yeah. How was the masjid? Was it nice? He's like, yeah, pretty nice. I was like, yeah. And we're talking. And then I think he realized that I was a goofball and missed something there, so he explained to me that the masjid is the Muslim house of worship, if you will. I think he essentially tried to make it easy in lay terms and said essentially a Muslim church, if you will. I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't really care. But so we talked for another minute or two, and we went our different paths. We probably crossed each other again about 1 or 2 days later in the dorm. And that day, he decided to start talking to me. So I mentioned about the mosque or whatnot, the masjid. And he asked me what religion I am. When he learned I was Catholic, he didn't, I wouldn't say he attacked me, but I felt he was attacking me. But I think he was really sincere. Because from a Muslim perspective, to hear some of these Christian beliefs when they come from another country, they can't imagine that people worship Jesus. They just can't fathom this. And he was a new guy from Morocco. He was learning English. Somehow he passed it and was in the program, but nevertheless. And he knows, because he even admits that he couldn't speak English very well. I didn't understand the guy half the time. But nevertheless, we were talking, and he just couldn't fathom these beliefs. So he was asking me, do you really believe this? He would ask me, did I believe that Jesus was really God? Do I believe that he was the Son of God? And I was like, of course. I put my chest out, of course he was God. And we started talking.